Colton RV creates fantastic memories that will change your life forever. Have you dreamed of getting into glamping in your own RV? Colton RV can help you take that step into the future with a new or used RV. Talk with a Colton RV team member online, by phone, or in person and see hundreds of RVs, from tent trailers to motorhomes and everything in between. It's all about great selection, unequaled service, and low prices. Open late at 2 convenient locations, one in Tonawanda and one in Orchard Park, New York. Now is the time to see the future at Colton RV.
Want to take your camping to the next level? Then why not try glamping? Welcome to RV Glamping Adventures, where you can have a little glamour with your travel adventures. Please join your hosts, Neil and Kathy, as they share RV glamping information, RV park reviews, product recommendations, and so much more. Here's Neil and Kathy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of RV Glamping Adventures with Neil and Kathy. I'm Neil.
And I'm Kathy.
Like that one?
Oh, wow. If that didn't wake you up and get you ready, I don't know what will.
I thought that was a good one.
You're excited about today's show, apparently.
I am so excited. Well, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about.
We've got some good information to share with you guys. But before that, we just wanted to, take a moment to just sort of recognize coming up this weekend is Memorial Day weekend.
Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day to all. And for a lot of people, this is the kickoff of the RV camping season.
This is it. This is when it all begins for some people.
We are not able to go this weekend.
No,
wah,
we can't.
Wah, wah. But we did, we kicked ours off early. We started back in March. This weekend we have some family things going on, so we are not able to go away. We had to cancel our plans.
We had plans, and plans change.
But you got to be flexible in life. You got to go with the flow.
Yeah.
But in a couple weeks after this, we have a huge trip coming up, so we're just focused on that. But I do want to take a moment and just, sort of recognize the day of, the weekend. Memorial Day is actually a day, but we have turned that into a nice long weekend.
It's usually the Monday holiday, right?
Right. I think officially that is the federal holiday.
Yes.
But, I think it's important for us. We always look for these moments, like especially when we're out with our families, to do a bit of a teachable moment and what this day is all about. And it's not all about hot dogs and s'mores, and we're lucky we're able to
do those things
and spend time with our families. But it's really about Memorial Day. It's really about remembering those that have died while in active service, and just to take that moment to, do some sort of recognition of that this weekend instead of just maybe, whooping it up too much with the friends and the family, but just to take a moment and remember what this weekend's all about.
A couple moments of silence to reflect on, how lucky we are that these people put their lives in harm's way for us, and that we're able to live and have our freedom.
The ultimate sacrifice.
The ultimate sacrifice.
So I just wanted to start by, just observing that, just recognizing that, and make sure you guys are safe this weekend and have a really great time. And for those that get to go camping, we wish we could go with you.
Guys.
You guys are lucky.
You guys are so lucky, but that's okay.
And just enjoy your time with your friends and family. So let's get on to the show.
I'm excited about this show, though. Still,
we got a lot of stuff to cover. So this came about. Usually our shows come about, and thank you for all your questions and feedback and things like that. But this came about with just a few different questions. So it turned into what we're going to call today's show is the top 10 common mistakes to avoid when RVing.
Those are good.
We have covered, I think, pretty much all of these.
Yes, and I've
we
got the scars to prove some of them.
But my goodness, we had a story for just about everything here.
Yeah, we did.
So, maybe you don't learn. We don't learn unless we make mistakes. Our thing has always been try to learn through the, mistakes of others.
But you did
lessons
say
learned.
Sometimes the mistake is the biggest teaching moment there is.
Yes.
There's some mistakes we've made.
Moments.
A lot of them, and I can guarantee that the first thing when we're doing some things, I'm like, I did that before. Don't do that again. Yeah. I made a mistake there. Don't do that again.
We have a couple funny, stupid stories, whatever. But if you could learn through ours and others' mistakes, you know what? It may just be more cost effective for you in the end.
Exactly.
Because, it can cost you some money when you make mistakes. So let's, without further ado, we're going to do 10.
Yay.
Number 10, we'll go 10 and down to 1.
Okay.
So 1,
I
think, is, to me, we kind of put it in an order of what we thought was sort of most important. I don't know if there's any...
but people might disagree.
Important.
People might disagree with our order, but this is our order.
This made sense to us, but they're all important things. So, all right, number 10. Don't overestimate your ability to drive the RV.
That is
your
huge.
Skills.
Your
Don't
skills.
overestimate your skills.
No.
That's with the Z. Skills. I know
Ooh, that's good.
I'm pretty, tough.
I'm scared.
So what does that mean to you now? Don't underestimate your skills.
Well, I think, depending...
Or overestimate your skills.
Overestimate your
Not
skills.
underestimate.
A lot of us are used to driving our cars or SUVs and going to the grocery store and doing what we got to do. But when you get behind the wheel of a motorhome, B's a little different because that's like a van for some people. So, but they're still a little bit bigger than, like, saying your Kia Soul. So it's a little different size. Or when you're doing like a fifth wheel or a travel trailer, some people aren't used to the turn radius has to change. You have to do some things like go a little wider when you turn at times, know where your blind spots are. There's a lot of things, a lot of factors in driving a motorhome or towing a vehicle that you really just don't have in taking your car to the store. It's a lot different. And
it's a whole thing. Like, I think you have to know your abilities. And,
Absolutely.
I was thinking with this one, even from starting with, like, ground zero, you've never, here's us back in 2008. Other than test driving, we'd never driven an RV before. So we did actually, this could even go a little bigger than just knowing, like, how to drive the RV.
Right.
So that, I think you can really hit on. If you're not comfortable, you're not sure, get out there and take a class. There's a lot of dealerships.
There are a lot of classes now, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of dealerships that will offer. And I always say to the women, you can drive, too. We've done
Absolutely.
a show talking about that multiple times. I think for better, safer drive, especially when you're going longer distances, you both should be able to drive. Even if, say, one of you prefers to drive more than the other, both should know how to, handle the RV, whatever size you're driving.
Well,
and
things happen. We've had conversations with people who say it's I'm not trying to be sexist, but husband and wife, and the wife driving didn't interest her, but then the husband got hurt or sick.
Then what?
And then she, they had a hard time, even if it was just a flu or something like that, and the husband couldn't drive. What do you do?
Well, you get to go further distances too when you're both driving.
Oh,
but that's
it's a nicer experience.
Digressing.
Too.
I mean, I just think it's really important that you both know how to drive. So if you're not sure about it, take the class.
Yeah.
If you think you're really sure about, I think people can be overly confident in driving their RV and just think they can turn on a point and the whole thing, and they do
stopping.
It's so many issues, and I think you just have to really make sure you're awake, aware, and alert when you're behind that wheel. Like, everything for us when we go, everything we love is behind us.
Absolutely.
Meaning our family. And I am not setting out on the road to hurt anyone, anything, nothing. And I want to get there and back safely.
And if a class is something that you can't or don't want to do, which, we really recommend if it's your first-time RV driver and you just really don't understand some of it, classes are really the best way to do it. But if that's something that you can't or don't want to do...
You can just Google that. Like, I know local dealers do it. Sometimes
AAAs.
There's AAA. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different places you could go.
But there's also big parking lots. So if you take your RV into a parking lot, that way, for backing up in a motorhome, we've got a little system that we've developed over the years that actually works for us, and it works really well. We use the cameras, the mirrors, and Kathy guides. And we have this really good system. But if you're having like a travel trailer or a fifth wheel, and you're somebody who's never really backed up, you can go into a campground. You get a back in sight. You don't know. You've never done it. You might
take out half your RV.
Well, we were at a campground. I think we were at Disney one time, and Disney's got the hard pads, but on the side of it is like sandish. Yeah. And so I watched a guy didn't know how to back up. It looked like. And didn't really have the guidance to back up. I
don't think he had somebody helping guide him in.
I don't think he did.
You've got it. Like, that's a great example too. Not, just even that kind of aspect. Like, if you're going to park and you're backing in, make sure you've got someone to help you. Again, don't overestimate yourself. I got this.
So this guy, I'm imagining maybe that's what he said, but he hit the side of the pad. Two of his wheels went off. It's a 15,000-pound Class A, and it went on its, like, it dug in the sand, hit the utility pole.
Oh, there was a tree, too.
Hit a tree, the utility pole, put a big gouge in the side of his RV, and they had to get a tow truck to get him out of it.
Yeah.
And they actually also wrecked the electrical and the water on that site.
Yeah.
So that became a whole big difference. So if you don't know how to do these things, you have to come up with a plan ahead of time.
And again, that's where it's good to tag team with someone that you have, a partner that A, can also drive with you, B, you can guide for each other for parking, those kinds of things. And I think it's really good just sort of pulling this issue back even more than just not, this overestimating your abilities. Let's say your first time in a new RV or into RVing period, One thing that Neil and I did, first trip we did in 2008, and this is a great thing to even ask your dealer. When we bought the RV, we got a free weekend wherever we wanted. It was a KOA.
Yeah,
actually.
that was really nice.
And I think a lot of dealers will do that and ask if you're
yeah.
purchasing an RV. Say, hey, do you have any giveaways right now? Any campground giveaways? Because pretty much every time we bought an RV, we got a weekend. Not that it's like, but it was kind of a great thing because we chose a local one,
Right.
And we did kind of not a dry run. So we stayed 10 minutes away from our house. But we practice. I mean, you could take all the lessons you want and everything there with driving, and that helps build confidence.
Absolutely.
You got to get out there and drive it. You got to get out there and use it. So, there's no real class to teach you how to go over a bridge.
No.
There's no class to teach you how to drive through a construction site when everything's tight and closed in and there's cement little barriers on
and the
the
trucks
side.
are going 70 miles an hour on your left-hand side.
So there's just common sense.
Yes.
I think more than anything is, and you can't teach that.
No, you can't teach.
Hopefully you have it,
Yeah.
because you need common sense to be out on the road, because there's a lot of crazy drivers out there.
A lot of stuff going on.
Everybody thinks they're first. Me first. I was here first, so I get to go first. Those kinds of things. I feel like get practice, go somewhere local, get used to being in the RV, figuring out what you need in that RV. So it's great to be only 10 minutes from the house. Practice driving it, those kinds of things.
Feel comfortable.
Be comfortable. And then you know what? Like, I'm not in any hurry when, like, we have a destination in mind, but we got to slow down. Like, there's no reason you need to, like, I'll say honestly, when we were coming back from Florida last time, I was driving, it was getting to be 11 o'clock at night. We were in West Virginia, and I found I was starting to get a little tired, and I was going a little too fast. I was suddenly, I remember this one part. You get into West Virginia, it is an interesting drive,
especially in the dark.
It's
At
some
night,
windy roads.
Yeah.
We were coming back through Virginia. Those roads, everything's just a little bit more. I don't know. You don't have these sharp turns like you do in West Virginia. I'm getting tired. I'm kind of like noticing this truck is racing me, and I was sort of sticking up with him. And I'm going, what am I doing? Slow down.
Not necessary.
And I pulled back, got in behind him. I'm like, what? No need to go 65, 70 like it suggests you should go. I needed to be going 55 at that point. So you need to just realize, whoa, and use your common sense and be safe, because nobody wants to hurt anyone or get hurt.
I remember when we first started motorhoming in our Class C, in my mind, it was like the speed limit was 65, 70.
That's what you do.
I should be going that fast.
Yeah.
And
the whole
I
thing's
found
shaking.
With the Class C, too, it's a little bit more rear heavy. So you hit a bump, and the front two wheels come up a little bit. I'm trying to take turns going into West Virginia, or wherever there's like a windy road. And your heart starts beating, you're not really confident.
When you get sweaty hands and white knuckles, you need to slow down.
If you don't feel like you have control or that something bad can happen, slow down.
Listen to that.
You have to use your gut.
There's just, no, again, it really comes down to common sense.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
that is, again, these things, Eric, I don't know that there's an order. That's also number one to me. Anyway, so don't overestimate
Actually,
driving
these could all
skills.
be number one. But anyways.
Don't overestimate driving skills. Okay, number 9.
Number 9 is make sure everything is good to go when leaving the campground.
Okay, we've done a couple of these things. So there's this great little comic strip I've put up before on Facebook that had this guy, everybody's waving, and he's like,
hey.
He's like, people are so friendly when you leave, at the RV parks. But meanwhile, he's got, hoses flying behind
his water,
him.
his power.
Everything's plugged in still,
Awnings
antennas
out.
up, and awnings out. I know for us, as we get older each year, we do a walkabout. We do a lot of different things, but there's nothing better than, honestly, a checklist.
Yeah.
To make sure, like, we have a system, but it's our own little checklist. But that's just a really good thing to have to make sure for a lot of different, not just setting up, but closing down, checklist before you go on a trip, those kinds of things. They're great to have so no mistakes are made.
Thankfully, we have OCD, and we've been doing this for a little while, but the checklist is the same for us every time. It's a walk around checking because...
Really? Because I remember one time, or maybe a few times, when we didn't necessarily... I'm thinking maybe we need to get a written checklist now, because we've had some situations that have
I don't know what
taught
you're
us.
talking about. What are you talking
maybe
about?
The OCD it's not, without its flaws.
Well, yeah, there are
maybe
some
what's going
things.
on for you and I up here is not as sharp as it used to be.
Are you talking when we stopped and then one door opened up?
Well, I was coming through a toll. We were almost home. And the lady that was actually, she was at the toll booth, starts, no, stop. I'm like, what? Like, we're, it's tight. It's sometimes kind of scary getting through some of the toll booths. I'm like, we can make it. And she's pointing to the side and below. And I look in the rearview mirror, and one of Neil's jobs is locking up.
I swear I locked that.
The undercarriage storage.
Yeah.
And there's one sitting wide open, and it was about to hit. Because when you go through the tolls, there's sort of this little cement barrier leading up to it.
Almost hit the barrier.
Almost hit the barrier, blah, blah, blah. We stop, pull back a little bit. He runs out, locks it, checks them all again. I don't know if it came undone, honestly, or
I don't
what
know.
happened.
I could have sworn I checked them, because I have
We've
this
been
thing
driving for, I think we were in Hershey.
We were in
like,
Hershey.
how did that happen? We drove 5 hours.
Yeah.
It was not hanging
No,
open.
no, it was
I mean,
weird.
it's in the rearview mirror. You would have seen that. So something in the turn we made, or I don't know what happened, it flung open. Somehow, miraculously, we didn't hurt anyone, and we didn't even lose anything in that storage bin.
No.
So something to be said for being organized. We had things packed nicely.
They were, and it worked very well. But it was scary.
Then there was the time when
There's more?
we tried to put the slide out in, and we had the antenna closed, but the handle was in the way of where the
we learned
slide
about
out
that.
comes in. Like, there's all these little things that are just unique to each RV, I think.
the actual mechanism that you turn inside to lower and raise the antenna was off
Pointing towards
the
where
slide.
where the slide comes
So
in.
when the slide came in, it just bent it and sheared it off.
Then
yeah,
there
that was something we did.
Then there was the time where we had, because we like to fill up our fresh water tank before we're driving anywhere so we can use the bathroom, wash our hands, yada, yada, yada. And we didn't close, like, the valve.
This was a very first trip in our very first
Again,
RV. A newbie
lesson
mistake.
learned.
I mean, it
Okay,
doesn't
and
happen
this-
anymore.
So we didn't close it all the
You're
way.
right.
And typically when we were going on a trip, when we were at the house, Neil would, like, fill up the water that morning. I don't know why he waited to that morning. But anyway, he'd
I
fill up.
wanted it to be fresh. I don't know. I don't know why. It was
So he had just
I don't
filled
do
it
that
up.
anymore.
We're getting ready to go. We take out. We're on the way. We drove, I don't know how far, but we stopped for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd probably driven 3-4 hours, stopped for lunch. And we're sitting at a picnic table on a rest stop along the thruway or something. And I look over at the RV. I'm like, Neil, there's this puddle of water and water dripping out the bottom. It wasn't like fully open.
No.
The valve wasn't, it just wasn't closed tight enough, or maybe, we figured out we hadn't even closed it. But so here we were probably for 4 hours driving down the thruway, water flying out behind us. We lost all the fresh water.
All the water. We had no water whatsoever.
No water. So we actually had to stop to go to the bathroom and all that. We usually use it on the road.
And I think this was one of the times we called
People
at the time we
probably
had
thought-
CoachNet too.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time on the phone with them trying to problem solve with the troubleshooting hotline, and it was really like, you're just
A
an
valve.
idiot. You didn't close the valve.
But I'm thinking as we're driving down the road, people are probably thinking we're like releasing our
Yeah.
black water. You hear like buses, like, what's that? Who's the singer? The band, Dave Matthews. There's this, I don't know if it's true or not, maybe it's an urban tale that they did this and they let the black water go on the road.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
I didn't know this.
all I could think of was people driving behind us going, oh my God,
Yeah,
they're
that would suck.
disgusting.
That's
and
gross.
look what they're doing. But it really was just fresh water. We
Those
didn't
dirty,
close it
dirty
up.
guys.
But again, a checklist probably, that would have been something
Yeah.
helpful to have not had that happen. Then we were without toilet use
That's true.
the whole rest of the way.
Which was not, and for a 21-hour trip, that was not fun.
Not fun.
But I think what we do now is Kathy takes the inside, I take the outside, and we do a scan through, and then sometimes we switch.
We are switching
And
now. I
we-
don't know if you've noticed, but
we
we've
have
been
been switching, and
I'm
we
checking your work.
check.
You're checking my work.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a couple times I know for like inside we have the air vents, and we don't have the max air covers over.
Right.
So we really shouldn't drive with the vents on. And I know one time, this is my mistake, we were leaving on a trip and I didn't check the bathroom one, and it rained, and we had
Oh,
water.
we had water. Dirty
and
water, too,
dirty
for
water.
some reason.
It was the dust on the
Top of
on the top
Oh, yeah.
came through.
Came
so
through the
that was a
bathroom.
mess.
So it was all over the toilet and the toilet
Yeah, that
floor,
was a
or the
mess.
bathroom floor. And
Try to clean that while you're driving down the road. That was
Yeah.
not fun.
so make sure you can find. I mean, I think you could just Google lists, for checklists, that
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of thing. I'm trying to remember if I did a blog.
I think
honestly
you
don't
might have a
remember.
while
I may have
ago.
done a blog.
Yeah.
I think I might have, where you can look up what to do. But again, there's lots out there. Make sure the awnings are properly clipped in.
Absolutely,
that whole
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
What else? I think that's just
All your slides are closed.
slides. Everything's locked. It's the
Yeah.
stairs. The stairs is a
Stairs.
huge one. People have taken off and the stairs are out
Yeah.
because sometimes they're a little glitchy. And ours has been too, so you have to make sure that's good.
Oh, also, if you chock your wheels, make sure that you take those back. Because some people don't, or also when they use the blocks to level, you want to either make sure you pick those up or move them out of the way, or
well, and we have a little thing you and I do when you're even when one of us brings up the jacks. Make sure they really went up.
Yeah, we walk out.
Because sometimes one can rust and get stuck up there, or stuck down there, and then you're going over bump, boom. That's not how you want to find out.
No.
So, it's a good thing to look up some lists or, add some that are unique to your RV to put on there to make sure.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. That's such a big topic.
There's
so
a
much
huge.
That's almost a show.
Again, that could be a number 1.
Okay, number 8. Knowing your RV size.
That's huge.
That is so huge.
That is huge. Well,
and they are huge.
For us, we have a 39-foot long, 12 and a half feet high. 12.6 high.
Know your RV size.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
12.6.
No, and it also weighs about 22,000 pounds. So, there's some places, like with height, you really have to watch where you're going.
You got to think, tell me you haven't seen these crazy, just in the news this week, there's this one bridge somewhere, I don't know if it was New Jersey or something, that they call it the can opener. Because I don't think it's properly...
it's not signed properly.
And there are places that, it's great to have an app that gives you RV directions specific to RV sizes and whatnot.
Well, some of those, what do they call it?
But if you're hitting main areas, you've got that kind of... you're fine getting under some bridges. The overheads are fine.
The big ones, like on the major throughways, like the 95 and stuff, and the 90, for sure.
Yeah.
But there's been times where we were down. Well, one that kind of made me nervous really bad was we used our app, and it gave us directions, and we wound up going in almost like a tunnel, and it was in New Jersey. We were going to Jersey. And
it's probably the one that was on the news.
Yeah, right. So we're going to Jersey City to stay at Liberty Harbor, and we're driving down, and the GPS rerouted us this way, and we're down. It's a kind of a winding, under-tunnely kind of bridge thing, and really scary. It wasn't signed or anything, so we have no place to go but straight. So we go straight, thinking it's all good. We get to the park, and I'm like, oh my God. Most of it, I'm driving in the middle.
Totally scary.
Totally scary. We get there, and I talk to the guy.
Nothing was taken off the top of the RV, thank God.
No, it worked out, thank God. Talked to the guy at the desk. I was like, oh my God, this was awful. He goes, you didn't just get off the next exit? I'm like, no.
No, we just followed the GPS.
Yeah, he goes, it's so much easier the other way. He goes, but you're lucky because some people have lost pieces off the top.
Yeah, like your air conditioner or whatever.
Yeah.
So Neil is already stressing about in the summer when we're going back there to make sure. Oh, me too. Yeah. I mean, this is a bigger RV, so we have to make sure we have the proper.
Yeah, that one was 11.6.
And not listen to. Sometimes don't listen to your GPS. They're not always right.
Yes.
So know your size. Think about even gas stations.
Oh, yeah.
We really we stick to. We've in the past gotten. Like you might be, they're great. Any gas station you can stop off, any major, like you talked about the 95, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're going to find what you need. But you've really got to watch when you're in like more, off streets, residentially, whatever, you don't fit, like getting in and out. I mean, there's been times we've had to 20-point turn trying to get in and get some gas, and then how do you get out because cars are in the way? And you don't want to be, a problem. Yeah. So, it's best to stick to like a Pilot, those kind of places.
Actually, I think the Flying J is the best.
I was going to say Flying J is the best.
Because actually we went to a Pilot because we thought...
Yeah, but I'm just thinking more of the truck stops. They have like better turning radius, that kind of things. But Flying J's has RV specific. Yeah. We took a picture of it even when we were on our last trip, like from now on. There's an app that shows you all the way along where you can stop. So... That's our thing.
We will be doing that from now on.
It's just one less headache you have to worry about.
I mean, I remember there was a time where I made the biggest mistake. We were coming home from, I think we were in Pennsylvania, and we were coming in, and I was like, well, we really need gas, and I pulled in, and it was a dumb one to pull in, and we barely got out of it, and we barely fit, and I was very close to the building in front of us, and I was like, why did I do that? But at the time, it seemed like, okay, we can make this happen, because you feel like kind of like, I can do this. A little empowered, and I was wrong.
So again, common sense usually comes back to. I'm sleeping in the back. I don't know.
Yes.
But you get tired, and you're like, I need gas. I'm going to stop here. But again, you've got to know your rig size and what you can do with it, and use common sense, and you're going to avoid again damage.
Yep.
The last thing I want to do is hit a some gas station pump or something.
Right, yeah.
Start an explosion.
Or put a rip in the side, or any kind of damage to your RV. They're not cheap. It's not easy to fix, and that could really put a huge damper on a trip.
That will absolutely put a damper on the trip. And don't overload your weight as well. Make sure, I think it's important to have, in the undercarriage underneath, if that's what you have, or whatever your model is, make sure you're not exceeding
that's
the
huge.
weight size, because that really compromises your tires. Then you can get blowouts, those kinds of things. So again, common sense is always the answer in life.
In your owner's manual,
moderation and common sense.
Those are huge. In your owner's manual, it actually has what your capacity is, and it even takes into account fresh water, gray water, propane, gas, all that stuff. And so a lot of times people will keep putting more stuff in. We're going on a trip. We got to bring everything. And a lot of people I've seen over the years can overbring things. And you're putting, like Kathy said, you're putting pressure on your tires. You're putting pressure on the chassis. You're actually they're not designed to be overweighted. And so if you go to make a turn, you're actually a little top heavy too.
You're going to tip.
You're going to tip. You're not good.
And you're going 65 down the 95 or 70. Again, things that you can avoid.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, number 7.
That is, check your awning. Make sure that it's in on a windy day.
Yeah, this is just something we had thought of. We were just thinking, well, what happens when we're in the campgrounds? It's something to really think about.
Yeah.
And just be aware of daily weather.
Yes.
And we pretty much all use our awnings. Obviously it provides, especially in the summer when you're out there, giving you that shade. And, so many of us just sitting outside, chilling out. And, say you take off for a little while and you're going to go down the beach, or you're going back to the parks, or whatever, you're on a hike. And, some wind kicks up. I mean, we've seen some serious damage from an awning that was left open, that shouldn't have been, flew open.
Oh, that was awful. I remember seeing that.
That's an expensive mistake.
Yeah.
Either some people do tip it down. To us, it's just as easy just to pull it back in.
Take it all in.
Sometimes, we love to put the lights on the end of the, those, in the end.
Yeah, we string the lights to make it look really nice. But, I was thinking about that after our last trip. When we were down in Florida, the raindrops were ginormous. And we couldn't take the awning in because the lights were in the way. So there's a couple times I would have actually liked to take the awning in.
Yeah, that were a little questionable. So again, bad common sense in our part.
That was one of those things, but it looked really pretty. But
this is also, we thought too, well, the awning's a big piece too, that we've seen that can be an issue. One of those things to put back up on that checklist we talked about before you unhook and leave, make sure that's really tight and closed. That's been I just see, I've seen a lot of discussions in forums, whatever. People have had issues with this. So just heightened awareness to making sure you're paying attention to the awning and whether or not it needs to be open, closed. Make sure when it's closed that it's properly snapped in and shut.
And a lot, not to keep going on about the awnings, but it's very important. A lot of the newer models have wind sensors built in. So
that's really
if
cool.
it's a windy day, or even if it's rainy or something's going on, they'll just pull in naturally on their own. So you can really, I think as technology is
they
increasing.
Always come up with new stuff.
Totally.
So if you're gone for the day,
it just takes care of it.
It's taken care of.
So you don't have to worry. I mean, you probably, with those things, you still have to check, but.
Okay, number 6, pet care. For those of you like us that our pets are our family, we bring our dog wherever we go. I mean, I don't know if she would forgive us if we didn't.
She's our buddy.
So this is a whole thing. It was, I think, our second show we did ever.
Traveling with pets.
Go back to our second show. It was about traveling with pets. And, take a listen to all that. But, making sure your pets are taken care of, their needs are met. Bringing what you need to bring to make sure they're comfortable. For some, there's a lot of anxiety not being at home. Having their things with you, making sure there's water bowls out, making sure they're not left barking all day long.
Frequent potty breaks on the trip.
Yeah, we make sure, when we're on trips, that part of the day is making sure if, Billy's not with us on an outing or something, that we're going back and making sure she gets to go outside and go. But we don't leave her out all day, anything like that.
We've actually built in a lot of our trips. Like, this is the time. Not that we're like that anal, but say Disney between rides, we sometimes built in a 2-hour window so somebody can go back, spend a couple minutes with her, take her out, make sure she's okay,
hang out with her, feed her, whatever,
and then go back.
Another thing to think about too, with ticks are always a big issue. Make sure they are properly. They have their flea and tick repellents, whatever they need taken care of. So just overall, just make sure you don't forget your pet's needs and that they're supposed to just fit into your schedule. Well, you got to fit into theirs too and make sure that they're comfortable and happy. And then everybody's happy.
Well, it's like traveling with small kids.
Yes.
You go on the kids' schedule. You should have, take the same consideration into your pets.
Exactly.
That's
Number 5.
Number 5 is make sure your RV is level. That's a huge one.
Those that don't, you're going to have some problems. Again, common sense. It's great. We really tend to go to higher end RV resorts because that's the experience we're looking for.
We typically use like premium sites that are on concrete level pads.
Well, there's more space. They're level. Yeah. They usually come with often there's a nicer fire ring. There's just everything's just a little bit nicer.
It's a little higher upgrade.
Yeah, a little upgrade. But you still have to make sure it's level.
Absolutely.
And there's times that we didn't, and all of a sudden we both felt kind of funny, and we call it the funhouse effect. You
totally feel like you're walking in a funhouse, and then out of nowhere the door just kind of opens a little bit. It's kind of creepy.
Your body knows, and you start kind of stumbling around like you're drunk and you're not. So it's important to make sure it's level. Number 1 for the slide out.
It's huge with the slides because they're very, very heavy. Very mechanical, and there's a lot of torque that could be put on the bolts, and we've actually had this problem in one unit.
Well, we had a problem anyway.
It was a bad unit.
Add to it, yeah.
We were always level with that one, but the torque could shear the bolts, and then you're stuck with your slide open until you have a mechanic or you can fix it yourself. But it's tough.
It really bugs me when, especially the bathroom door, if it's not level, the bathroom door's open, closing. So it's just, it's better for the unit, and it makes you feel less crazy. Because there is this really weird feeling when you don't have a level RV. I think it's terrible.
I remember being in the Class C.
You can sleep in it and feel,
Our Class C, you actually had to put up on blocks. We used leveling blocks, which took a little while, add one, take one out.
So nice. The model we have right now, it has a leveling system. It's a little glitchy too. You have to work with that. We still bring a level with us to make sure.
Yeah.
But another thing to think about too is checking the level. If we've been on gravel or I don't know, not sand, but we've been on just ground. You settle after a few days. Yeah. So there's times I've woken up in the morning and in the back of the RV, and you could just feel like my head is below my feet. You know what I mean? My feet are higher than my head.
I feel like I'm leaning.
I feel like I'm leaning, and it's the weirdest feeling. And so then it's important to. So remember, you can settle, in just flat ground, and you might want to tweak it then.
We've actually done a couple of things on some of our trips. If we know we're going to be there for a little longer, and it's not a concrete pad. We'll go back and re-level it, too.
You have to. You do. Again, it's that feeling, that funhouse feeling, that'll start again, and you got to think about those slides.
For us, we use the manual level part, and so a lot of we have the automatic. You can just hit the auto button, and it automatically levels for you. But there's also, to tweak it, we use a manual portion. And so sometimes during the trip, I'll pull out the level, or Kathy will pull out the level, and we'll just make sure that we're
just a good thing to check.
Yeah, things settle.
All right, number 4.
Number 4.
No power? What do?
You get scared and run away.
Typically, we like to react first.
It's, oh my God, there's no power.
What's wrong?
Ah. And actually, the first thing you should do is look at your master switch.
Because that's happened.
That's happened before. I remember that we picked up the RV one time, even from the dealer, and I was like, geez, you guys just fixed this, blah, 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 and there's power.
There's nothing more embarrassing.
And the guy comes out and goes, click. And I was like, oh my God, I'm an idiot.
Again, learn from our mistakes.
Totally.
So there's some things you can check before. So that was just a little one that we had.
That was a little one, but a lot of times you can either check the circuit breaker on the utility plug where you come in and get shore power. You can check your batteries to make sure. There's a lot of things to do. Just don't go right to freak out.
With your computer. Yeah. This is how I think of it, and we've done this. Sometimes you need a reboot. So sometimes it's good to, if something's not working, we've struggled, some fuse is acting funny and the microwave's off. And one thing I saw too in all of this is make sure about the fridges are the number one cause of fire. So that's something you really want to stay on top of, keeping that clean. And just an aside here, and
is that with the propane fridge
typically,
mostly?
Typically, people keep too much food in it or not enough, and they don't clean it out in between camping trips. And there's a lot of different issues. The fridge is one of the number one causes for fires. Wow. I'm seeing. We don't have that issue, but I wanted to just bring light to that.
We have a residential fridge, so I think we're okay.
Yeah. But it's still something I think you have to be aware of. And
always.
I'm thinking power and those issues. But sometimes it's good just to go unplug everything or reboot the power switch, and then for some magical reason everything works again. So I always think about it like a computer. When you don't know what else to do, Reboot. So we give that to you. All right, number 3.
Number 3
Not
is
making reservations.
Yeah, some people like to go on the seat of their pants and not make reservations,
and get upset when they show up at some campground and they can't get a good spot
because they're full,
or a spot.
Like say this weekend coming up, if you don't have reservations for this weekend,
don't even bother.
You're not going to get them.
If you didn't make them 6 months to a year ago, unless you know of some secret place, for us it's best to really have the best trip and go somewhere and it's planned and you get a nice spot. It's nice to have those reservations up front, and I make sure I keep the typically at pretty much every place except one I can think of, that don't send things through mail, like email. I do try to. I have a little save file on our email that I keep for our RV trips, the confirmation numbers, yada yada yada. So when you get there and we get there and we tell them our name is the Piñatoras, they look at us like, I don't know how you spell that. And I just go here. Like every
confirmation
time,
number 0139.
We go to Disney, they can't. And I'm a hyphenated name actually. I'm Ford Piñatora, and it's not in their. I don't know. They can't find me, so it's like boom. Here's the email.
There's either hyphen, no hyphen.
It's all different. So it's just easier and makes the whole check-in process easier.
And
even we're trying to move things along.
Even with that one place, probably 2 weeks before we go, we'll call anyways just to confirm.
Just to confirm. There's some places that they just don't do that. They're like, all right, we'll see you when you get here. Yeah. Well, I don't want to drive 5, 6, 12, 13 hours and no, sorry, you're not in the system. So, for me, it's about having reservations having confirmation of that, and therefore you have a nice, smooth trip.
Yeah, and
just saying.
You're I don't know. It's a much nicer trip whenever there's no bumps, no glitches, no hiccups.
Things happen.
But this is a hiccup
we're just trying to shed light on mistakes you can avoid.
That's true.
So other things will happen.
True. But the reservations, you want to at least have a campground.
There's things you can make common sense, reservations, all these things can avoid probably silly, drama.
And we've actually we were going to one place one time a couple of years ago, and there was a tropical storm coming, so they closed the campground. And thank God for smartphones and whatnot, we were able to change the reservations on the fly. And that kind of
that's happened twice actually. One was a tropical storm, one was pretty much a hurricane.
It was bad.
So we've been able to make. I mean, sometimes you can do things on the fly. But we had reservations.
Yeah, we did.
We did have a plan.
Yeah.
And as with the whole, I think, RVing world, part of it is built into it is you need to be flexible.
Yes.
We like to go with a plan, but stuff happens. Life happens, gets in the way of your plans. Okay, what's plan B? And we're usually able to sit down and figure something else out and have a plan B. So that does work out too. But again, that's in, the hurricanes, okay, guys? Dire straits here.
But just don't show up and expect something, because that's not going to happen.
No.
So the next one.
Go ahead.
Routine maintenance needs to be performed. That one is
again,
huge.
avoiding things that stuff happens.
Huge.
But, for us, we always kick off the season and end the season with getting the RV properly opened, closed, checked, walked through. Mm-hmm. And we're about to go on this other really big trip. We're going to be heading down to a couple places in Florida, up to D.C., back home. That's a lot of miles, guys.
It's a lot of miles.
And we just did a lot of miles. So what did we do?
We had the routine maintenance performed. We had the oil changed. We had the generator inspected. We had tires checked and made sure there was enough air in them, because that's one of the big problems a lot of people have is having underinflated tires. And again, we were talking about vehicle weight. If you're underinflated, you're putting more pressure on your tires. You're risking a blowout. You're risking a flat. You're risking a lot of problems. And RVs, especially the size of our RV, you're not able to just pull over and pull out a jack and get the spare out. You have to.
You got to call somebody.
You got to call somebody.
They say do not do this yourself. If you have maybe more of a smaller travel trailer, there's other sizes you can do that. We are not able to do that in our Class A. So,
but even if you pull over on the side of the road, typically the road is soft, so you risk having your jack or whatever you're using dig into the ground. Yeah. So that's not actually safe. And never ever try to change tires using the leveling jacks. Bad idea.
Bad idea.
People have done that. That's a big mistake.
So, again, avoiding stuff's going to happen. I think it's good to have, different plans out there. You know, we've got Good Sam roadside assistance. There's a lot of other types
also have
of
AAA
service.
as
We
well,
have
'cause
AAA as well.
we doubled
we
up.
have double
up.
backup plan.
Yeah.
But, you know, we want to be able to be out somewhere and call a number and someone could come to our assistance. I don't need to be on the side of the 95 changing any tires that we shouldn't be
Not
changing
necessary.
and getting hit, okay? So keep in your vehicle, wait for a professional, and have that. But in the meantime, you can do some routine maintenance and don't just, you know, I see people like where we park our RV in between times of our trips, and there's some that are just sitting there all the time. And I mean, I don't know that even anybody uses them. And so when they sit there, stuff happens, tire rot,
Belt
wear and
rots.
tear, check your belts.
You got to check your belts. You got to check all your fluids. You got to check your wiper blades even. You know, people don't think
Well,
about
that's
stuff
where it
like
comes
that.
in for the fridge too, the coolant and all this different. There's a lot of different aspects to remember. It's a lot of responsibility.
Oh yeah, these things are big. And if you're able to do it yourself, because a lot of you guys are probably quite handy.
We wish we had your brain.
That's
first
great.
of all.
Yes. Yes,
I
we
wish
do.
I had that knowledge. We've learned a lot.
Yes.
There's a lot we can handle, but we know when, you know, to get it checked, you know, throughout the season,
Yeah.
but also taking care of it. Like, honestly, you guys, we have 5-6 people going on trips, and we keep that thing looking brand new because it's our investment, you know.
is.
So we will trade this in for a diesel model at some point. We're talking about it. And I wanted also for that aspect too, that you know, when we go to trade in, we've kept the value up.
We've been
because you
lucky.
know about depreciation. Come on,
Yeah, that's a whole different subject.
that's another.
We've
show.
been lucky though. Every time we've traded our RV in, that I've heard the people use words like pristine, immaculate.
Now you're gloating.
I am, but it's a lot of work to keep it that way, and so you know, keeping
it is, but it's worthwhile.
Oh, it's totally worthwhile.
I don't know why people would spend money the way they do on these big toys and not take care of it.
Yeah, you
so
gotta clean it
has
up. You
to
gotta
us,
keep it
it's
clean.
you know, it's the value of the, you know, obviously the trade-in and those kind of issues, but it's invaluable. It's priceless. The memories we've made and all the other things that go along with it. To us, it's worth the trade-off of that. All right, number one.
Number one.
Ready? That's the best noise
That was
I can
it.
do
I
there.
don't know. Go, you got it. Go.
All right. Top to us, I mean, they're all number one, but in our list here, we put as a top 10 common mistakes to avoid when RVing is please don't be a rude camping
Oh
neighbor.
yeah, that's bad.
Like,
That-
we
don't-
almost wanted to do
don't
a show
that.
about this because there's so much to talk about.
And then
But
we thought
just
we'd just be too negative.
I know. It's just, we've been to a lot of different parks
Yes.
in 8 years.
Yeah.
And mostly RVers are fantastic.
The nicest
and are
people,
courteous
period.
of others. But you guys all have stories. I know you
yeah.
do. Of that rude camping neighbor.
It always takes just like one guy, and it's in your mind.
Well, you know,
We've got a couple, I think.
typically they can involve, noise is one.
Noise.
You know, respect. Every park that we've ever gone to, there isn't one that didn't have some ground rules. They give
Yes.
them to you as soon as you get there.
Quiet time.
Quiet time. Typically it's 7 in the, you know, it's don't start making noise till at least 7 in the morning. I don't actually hear anybody getting up till about 9 or 10 or 11. And then I think by 10 o'clock at night you need to settle down because there's children sleeping or there's older people, whoever. I have to go to bed and I am only 45 years old at 10 o'clock, okay? So it's really, really frustrating if you're next to someone who's still whooping it up at 1 o'clock in the morning. And you know what? I have no problem at some point. I will let someone go. You know, I'm not going to, it's 10:01, call, you know, but if things are getting out of hand, I will happily call the front desk or, you know, the front office and say, look, because this is our experience too. And if it's bothering us, it's bothering 10 other families around them. And, you know, unfortunately, there's some inconsiderate people out there. So, you know, just be courteous of the noise factor. What else bothers you now?
Oh, I don't like when people walk their dogs and don't pick it up. That's a problem. That happens.
Drives me crazy.
I also don't like, there's a few things, leaving garbage around their campsite because there's either critters or I like that word, critters or varmints, but mostly it's just, you know, it's hygiene. You have to keep your stuff kind of like, you don't want bugs around. There's all sorts of stuff. I don't need to see that. You know, it's just being respectful to your neighbor. You know, noise is a big one though, I think. And also, this is a personal pet peeve, and I'm going to sound like a real bad guy. Watch your kids.
Yeah.
Watch your kids. Because we have 4, and as a parent, these places can be, RVers are lovely, lovely, lovely people.
They really are.
But it only takes one, and someone misses their kid, and something can happen.
I
Or
just
a
think in
kid
this
can
day
run
and
out and
age-
get hurt.
Well, you know what? There was one summer we went to Disney and some kid was I think he was 10 years old, was out riding his bike on his own. And I mean, we are not hover parents, guys.
Oh, not at all.
First
no.
and foremost, like we like our kids to be independent. Obviously, 2 are already gone.
Yeah.
They're independent. But going back to the common sense again, this poor little guy, he drove his bike into a bus. So not only he lost his life.
Yeah.
And think of the tragedy. Here you're at Disney, the most magical place on earth, and your son died.
And you're the bus driver who did it.
And the bus driver had to live with that.
And everybody
now.
who was on the bus.
And it wasn't the bus driver's fault. This kid just went boom, went out in the street. And, a lot of tragedy that could have been avoided. But, we've been at campgrounds, too, where, when we go, we're going to be with our kids. We'll go off and do runs and stuff by ourselves. But we tend to, we've always enjoyed, we'll go play mini-putt together. We go whatever. And it's so funny not funny, ha-ha. It's strange to me. I used to be a social worker, so these things, heightened awareness. And just watch the news, guys, and how many kids get abducted and this, that, the other. And I'm always amazed at that kind of total hands-off parenting, where I'm hoping we're somewhere in the middle. I think you could be too much, too little. I want to be in the middle. There's moderation. That
we give our kids a little bit of room to...
Yeah, we give them enough rope till they hang themselves,
but we know what
then
they're
we
doing.
yank it back in.
We know what they're doing.
We know what's up. And I cannot believe how many parents I have met that their kids end up at our campsite because they love what we got going on. They seem drawn to that. And then I'll bring them back to their parent thinking, oh my gosh, this parent must be really worried. Their kid's gone. And their parent is drunk at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning and doesn't even know the kid is gone. Yeah. It's embarrassing. Yeah. So that kind of stuff.
That's a bad camping neighbor.
That is a bad. And, I know we're all going to look out for each other.
Absolutely.
I do feel like, you know what, this guy, he's obviously got some issues.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of that one campground where there was just a couple kids that kept ending up with us. And you know what? I'm okay with it to a degree, but I don't know this child, and I don't know this child's parent, and I got to think about my family too.
Yeah. Yep.
And this guy doesn't even know where his kid is, or, mom and dad or whatever. At that point, I knew actually it was just the dad. Mom wasn't around. But I just don't think you should assume everybody's going to look out. I feel like in the camping community, we've talked about community before, but I do feel like we look out for each other. I do.
When we were talking, I think one of the shows we did with RV security, one of the biggest assets to RV security is our neighbors at a campsite. But that does not mean
don't assume
that they're going to babysit your kids.
We all need to babysit your child because you want to have a beer at 10 o'clock in the morning or 20.
Yeah.
It's just...
No, it's true.
So, those kinds of issues just, to me, make...
And I'm all about having a beer. Don't get me wrong.
Not necessarily at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Not at 10 in the morning. And not when my kid, I don't know where they are.
No, we're there to hang out with their families and relax and all that, too. And I really don't, honestly, I would rather that child have been with us. At least I knew they were being watched. And I know we're a safe family to be with.
Absolutely.
But I also don't want... I'm hoping people just sort of look out for that and think about that safety factor on that. And it's really rude to assume someone else is going to take care of your kid for you.
Yeah. Again, a bad camping neighbor. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have these same experiences, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have made these mistakes too over the years. And I hope you learn from this and don't make them if you haven't.
Yeah,
so.
And share with us if you've got some stories. We'd love to hear them. Whatever we read stuff on. The show that we find amusing or whatever, that's important that we share with everybody else. So do let us know. So again, this weekend, nice long weekend. Everybody have a safe...
Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day. Take time with your families. Appreciate the loved ones you have around you. And we're getting ready we're kind of counting down now to our big trip. We're going to be gone for about 2.5 weeks in a few weeks.
Very
so
excited.
We got a lot to do with that. In the meantime, Neil, how can they get a hold of us?
If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can email us at rvglampingadventures@gmail.com. You can also check out our website, www.rvglampingadventures.com, and read some of Kathy's amazing
More
blogs.
blogs up. I just did another one the other day.
And also check us out on Facebook at RV Glamping Adventures, Twitter's at RV Glampers, and Instagram.
RV Glampers as well.
Yes.
And I do have a little page going on Pinterest. If anybody could email me, tell me how to do it. I need help.
And if Pinterest is listening, please
make your site slightly easier. I don't know why it's so hard for me. Maybe it's just me, because millions of others are using it.
I know, but you can do this. I believe in you.
I need to take the time. Anyway, you guys have a great camping weekend, holiday weekend. Happy Memorial Day. We'll talk to you next week.